Does that make sense? One final testimony here. This is from Nathaniel. I just found this, and it speaks to me on a lot of levels. Too many forget that the continuance of a people should come from the love of one's own people, and not a hate for the other. I hate the mistakes I made. I wear them every day, and some I even wish I could take back. But time is merciless and flows only forward. I'm trying to rectify them, but some I may just have to live with. It's an uphill battle. Listen to this guy, no white guilt.
Listen to this guy, no white guilt, no white guilt, no white guilt, Listen to this guy, no white guilt, no white guilt, no white guilt.
Everything from being a man, to encouraging your kin to face tattoos, to how you identify yourself and your beliefs, to discerning your motivations for why you want to see the children of the West survive. Don't make my mistakes. You'll feel like a fool otherwise. Don't make my mistakes. That's from Nathaniel Nelson. A warning to him about the warnings that he wished he had somebody share with him.
Listen to this guy, no white guilt, no white guilt, no white guilt. Listen to this guy, no white guilt, no white guilt, no white guilt. Listen to this guy, no white guilt, no white guilt.
Drowning in the argument, the anti-white says, what exactly is anti-white? You have got to be animated with the righteous passion of reclaiming our destiny. We are the heroes of this era.
And we are rolling in. Can everybody hear me okay? Does the mic sound okay? Do I have to make any changes to it? We're going to jump right into these stories, and I will look for what you all are saying. Entropy is up and running. If you'd like to financially gift, you may do so there. You may also financially gift over on Cash App. I'll keep an eye on both of those, as well as Odyssey, and it's wonderful to see all of you on there. Hey, let some folks know in your circles of influence that we're live. We're going to take a quick look at things, and primarily I want to look at your comments and questions as well. because I know that there are bound to be quite a few. It appears that everything is working okay on the microphone. And the great Franklin is with us saying sound is good. Wonderful to see you, brother. Mr. Fookers as well. The great champion Nathaniel Nelson is here. Great to see you, brother. Brad C., fit and healthy at any age. Eric, is that how you pronounce it? And is here. Thank you. And wonderful Yonash. Great to see you all. Of course, there is the little ladybug is with us. Hello to you, young lady. Highlander is with us. And of course, the wonderful No White Guilt Clips, a real champion. Diamond Dust as well. Western Civilization, wonderful folks. You may also financially gift with cryptocurrencies, and you may do so at nowhiteguilt.org. Click on the financial tab link, and I'm going to be keeping my eye on all of these things so that we can address any questions you may have. What are you all most interested in? Is it the war or is it the slap? Then Oscar got slapped down. And I must admit that I'm most depressed. I am most depressed by folks who have observed that and immediately leapt to some conclusions. You know, it's like, I guess I feel a little bit of the same pain, I guess, that you feel when you see somebody who is old enough to know that the magician isn't actually doing sorcery, but they're still thinking it is. It's like a family member or something, and you're like, oh, damn. U.S., Europe restrict Russian trade as Putin's forces advance on Kiev. So this is up to the minute over on CNBC, and I will see if I can do that. And yes, we can touch the microphone. And if it goes out, please let me know. But let's see, more cities in Ukraine have been targeted by Russian airstrikes Friday. Why didn't they? Have they stopped? I mean, why not like the bellicose Russian airstrike? It from day one, when it came to this invasion of Ukraine by Russia, we had the verbiage in the news media, and you heard it elsewhere, academia, entertainment media, that was the kind of verbiage that you would expect that might be taking place after like 2 years of unending warfare. But at 2 days, they were already talking like that. So that tells you a lot about the motivations and also the honesty, you know, the integrity, how dispassionate or uninvolved or what have you these news readers might actually be. Fit and Healthy at Any Age says, greetings, hello to you. And so airstrikes Friday, local authorities say, in a move that suggests Moscow is expanding its attack further into the country. It comes after new satellite images appear to show that a large Russian convoy approaching Kiev has been redeployed to towns and forests outside the city, potentially signaling a renewed push to bear down on the capital. So so there are a couple questions that are begged here, like, are we reading anything that is truthful? Is any of this information that's being reported truthful? Is it partially truthful? Is it 10% truthful? Are the Russians and Ukrainians actually having conversations? Are we receiving some of the accuracy that you expect in reporting so that you can form some sort of opinion? I know that there are a lot of content creators right now who are like breaking down, making themselves like $10,000 a night, reading the news about what's taking place. I might as well, I should get a book and just read fiction, right? I've just what's known to be fiction. And I'll read that to you, and we can talk about the ongoing conflicts in Lord of the Rings. And I mean, it's just amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. So you have to take all of this with a grain of salt when you're reading about these things. But apparently and this is also, there's another question, and that is about warfare. And for those who like to discuss and theorize and talk about such things, that is, what you are seeing when you see powers of this size is Russia, to whatever degree we have to, I guess we just speculate, has some ability to knock satellites or to blind satellites, if not to destroy them and knock them out of orbit. They have some ability to do that, but they're not doing that because of the expanding the war to more hostilities. Not to start war, because when you wage economic war on a country, that's the declaration of war. And that's what the anti-white oligarchs have done from the United States. They're waging economic warfare. It's also a declaration of war when you, but check with CNN, and maybe we'll read it here on CNBC. But you are, when you supply a country with weapons, that is a declaration of war on some level with the country that country, said country's at war with. And of course, we know that that's been done. But probably even more of a declaration of war is to provide information about where troops are, troop movements, aircraft movements, and the like, that the United States is able to provide to Ukrainian forces by way of a very complex system of what, for us might as well be innumerable satellites that they post over top of the region, and that normally fly over the region anyhow, but that they post over top of the region to keep an eye on. So Russia, this is something for, again, people who like to, who maybe were in the military, like to discuss these sorts of things. Something to really cogitate on is that a war is being waged with the knowledge that an adversary, i.e. the United States for Russia, is watching every single thing. So much of war throughout the history of mankind was all about diversion and secrecy. You think about the things that used to be done, even you think about the War for Southern Independence. You think about World War I and World War II, the different things. I mean, in World War II, they actually had inflatable tanks and things of this nature. So much was done to manipulate the awareness of the opposition and now the enemy. And now Russia's having to wage a war with the U.S. knowing every single movement. I mean, there's no way to conceal it from the U.S. satellites. They can see through the cloud cover on plenty of wavelengths of the spectrum, light spectrum. So they know what's taking place. And this is not even to include, this is just satellites, which of course can, what was it, during the Cold War, they were said to be able to read a license plate in Moscow, and I believe it easily. So you know what, they're looking into the pores of the soldiers, of their skin. That's how good the technology is now. And this is not even to talk about anything else that they could be flying overhead and observing the countryside. But when you tell a country that's being invaded, hey, this is where your opposition is, and you can go kill them now because they don't have, they're moving, and so they're vulnerable. You can go use this kind of missile that we equipped you with, or you can go use that mortar, or you can go use this tank busting. When you do that, I mean, that is a very high level of declaration of warfare, more so than economic warfare, because a country can respond to that more so than just even supplying the weapons. Because if you have the weapons, but you don't know where your enemy is, you don't know where the invader is, and when they're weak versus when they're strong, the weapons are useless. So that the information is the primary power and tool that the United States and other countries are providing the Ukrainians. And of course, we here want this war to end as soon as possible. And they don't have a dog in the fight, except that we want brothers' wars to end immediately. No more killing of white young men out on the battlefield. No more making of our white brothers and sisters to suffer the privations of warfare. And this for the ultimately benefiting the anti-white oligarchs that run or that dominate, I should say, United States et al. Ukraine Ministry of Defense claims drone strike destroys enemy control point near Kiev. The Ukrainian Ministry of Defense on Friday night posted a video which it says shows a Ukrainian drone attack on the, quote, enemy control point near Kiev. So, perfect example. How did they know where the enemy, the Russian control point would be? Because the United States or one of the other et al. Countries provided that information. A few minutes ago, quote, a few minutes ago, the enemy control point in the Kiev direction was destroyed. Our Air Force is working. It says our Air Force is working. Close quote. The Ukraine ministry post on Telegram. So, I mean, this is according to the NBC's news translation. I mean, this is, are we going to be subjected? And I mean, it obviously is. I mean, so it's a rhetorical question, but we're going to be subjected to knowledge about warfare, starvation, calamity of various types by way of these unelected, unaccountable social media giants who determine what will be allowed to flow through their network or not, and what is truth and what is not truth. I mean, that's the direction, and that's that we continue to go. That's the trend, and that is where we are, of course, today. Atrocious. And the government, our governments are not controlled by, they're certainly not controlled by Western kind, but they're not even controlled by the people of the Western countries. I mean, it is, in my opinion, not a stated fact, because the ear is against the door, but democracy is a joke. It is an absolute joke. What you see here, and speaking to the Mafia Don versus Don that I was referencing, is that with the theft, which is what it is, the theft of deca $1 million and $1 million assets from the Russian oligarchs, and who knows what else has been stolen. You're witnessing all the proof you should ever need in the world that when you see these conflicts, you're seeing a conflict between rich people. I mean, it's just a way to break it down. The richest on planet Earth. And when they are thieving each other's possessions, when and where they can, you're seeing that indeed this is like mafia dons, and they wage their conflicts with all of the tools they have at their discretion. So that's, of course, money, freezing of assets and things. And that's the weaponizing of the dollar that we've seen, which harms everyone ultimately across the West, the weaponizing of the dollar. But of course, to the oligarchs, it's just one tool, and it's a big tool. It's a big step. It really demonstrates the weaponizing of the US dollar, really demonstrates that this conflict between the Russian oligarchs and anti-white Russian oligarchs, they've never stood up for white people, and the anti-white oligarchs in the United States at all, that this is a very real power struggle. And there's going to be some jostling of power holders. That means this is a context shifting moment that we should be taking advantage of. We seriously should be moving on this in service to white well-being as quickly as we can, more so than normal, to spread all the good work that we do, because as this context shifts, as there is going to be a resifting of power holders, you don't know what that's going to look like on the other side. So we need to be empowering ourselves as quickly as we can, because there might be magnificent opportunities for us on the other side. We simply don't know. There also might be some pretty significant challenges, and we need to be ready for that as well. But weaponizing the US dollar, so that is undermining the trust that the anti-white oligarchs in the West et al. Have built in the US dollar as this sort of neutral unit that sort of runs in the background. The trust that they've engendered in that, with, of course, the threat of violence behind it, you adopt this very stable thing that we're not going to mess with, and we're not going to weaponize. We're not going to take your bank accounts away from you, and then you'll have nothing. The undermining of that trust is wildly significant. And it means that these oligarchs, they know they can't go, these anti-white oligarchs in the US at all. So look that up if you're unfamiliar. That means that they are reaching for one of their final tools on the board. One of the other final tools, of course, is nuclear weapons. But they know that the Russian oligarchs also have nuclear weapons and that they would use them in retaliation. And that therefore, these anti-white oligarchs in the United States and the rest, they want to be alive. And they know that their mansions, their bunkers, everything is targeted with the Russian oligarch nuclear weapons as well. Check with CNN, of course. But they know so. So they don't want to launch the nukes. But they would if they would use the dollar. They would if they could live through it, is my opinion. And so they can't launch the nukes. And so they're using what's left to them on the table. And I think Putin, who no real friend there, hasn't been standing up for the victimization, standing out against the victimization of Western kind. So silent on it. He made it very clear that he and the other anti-white Russian oligarchs, they would use that force if they had to. And I guess the United States, they believe them. So they're using the most powerful things left to them, which something else that is revealed by this. And that's, you have to look for what is not visible as well in all things, in business and statecraft, everything. One of the things that's not visible is that the American anti-white oligarchs, they haven't reached for artificial intelligence, which means it doesn't exist yet. So it doesn't mean that there isn't some stage. When I say artificial AI, artificial intelligence, that means something that's up and running and is artificially more intelligent than humanity or human. So it's somewhere short of that or doesn't really exist at all. It's just what most really sane folks say. It's that it's program in, program out. So junk in, junk out. A human mind giving a computer something to think, say, and do, and it's not doing any thinking or saying or doing on its own. So if they had AI, they would use that in the place of rupturing confidence in the American dollar. And so when I say that, what exactly does that mean? That means, so you're actually getting here a real insight into the oligarchs, the people who run they dominate the totality. They also at their use is something that is a little bit less certain, sort of like wielding a wild animal. Like if you had a lion that you reared as from a cub, and you therefore had access to its brain, just like these oligarchs have access to our brains over the totality of our lives. You have access to the lion's brain over the totality of its life. And you teach it that whenever you give a certain command or what have you, it attacks. Well, it's still a wild animal. And so even though you've done all this great training and you have a measure of control over the beast, i.e. the population, can still decide, it wants to just relax right now. It is feeling grumpy. It doesn't want to go do the attack. It wants to attack something else. So ultimately, when it comes down to it, a population which the oligarchs wield their struggles with as well, are not as reliable as, say, AI would be, not as reliable as, say, making a decision with the economy, with the dollar, not as reliable as firing nuclear missiles. They can be whipped up. You can whip that lion, get him really angry about something that you've trained him already with a given word to attack. You can whip him up, and that makes it maybe more likely that he'll carry out the attack. Share this information, by the way. This is far deeper and far more intelligent than you'll get elsewhere. That's just a reality. You can do that to this population, to this lion, but ultimately it still has a mind of its own. And a crowd mind is not as easy to control as pressing a button or telling AI to do something like this. So instead, they move for weaponizing the dollar. And what that causes is that causes every country on earth to immediately, the populations there that are can be wielded but can be unwieldy, like a lion that you've raised from being a cub. And you think about these trainers who have trained with pain and who have trained with reward, both ends of the spectrum, and they still both get mauled. So they're cuddling the tiger one day, and then the next day it rips, the hair and the skull, the skin off the top of the guy's head or whatever it might be. Kills him on the spot. Happens all the time. All these populations around the world. So think about that, that you have taught people this is a stable, neutral, in the background unit that you don't have to worry about. We're going to always be fair with you when it comes to this. And that is critical. And then we will wage our power conflicts in other ways. That's what they've been doing until to degrees. There's been a little bit of threats and things like this over the past, but now it's wildly in the open. We're freezing you out of the use of the currency. We're freezing your assets. We're freezing your access to gold and different things where they have it. And we're not going to do business with people threatening. Won't do business with people who do business with you, and they won't be able to do business in dollars with you because of this prohibition that we placed on you. That is a significant issue because you're dealing with populations. So every single and of course the biggest countries, like China, India, that sort of thing. Those are the ones that are most problematic or potentially problematic when those populations, those governments say to themselves, "Whoa. If we disobey these people, they're not going to just wage their power struggles with us." And this is, of course, I'm talking about the oligarchs, the most powerful in countries. They're not going to just wage their power structure or struggle with us by all the other means. They're even going to use the currency by which we do all of our business. And so, of course, they're going to conclude we need to look elsewhere for how to do our business. We have to pad elsewhere. Now, the United States has the anti-white oligarchs, I should say, has gone around enforcing the authority of the dollar with the military. But it's not going to be able to, as the military gets weaker, as it gets more confused about what gender it is and whether or not masculinity is even desirable anywhere in life, but including the military, that military gets weaker. And it's not weaker, not weaker just because you don't have a strong man that can be in combat, physical combat, but also because of the mental toughness that a soldier, an airman, a sailor, a Marine needs in those critical moments when body parts are lying everywhere, or and also rather when you are making the decision to kill a bunch of humans and have their body parts lying all over the place. So as the United States military gets weaker, it could not even at its best, could it have compelled the totality of the world if the whole world had turned against it. Even more so now as the military gets weaker, mentally, physically, etc. So it's very dangerous. And as I say, it reveals that there's a real power struggle, that the anti-white oligarchs are reaching for the most powerful weapon left to them, the currency itself, because nuclear weapons are taken off the table, and by Russian anti-white oligarchs having nuclear weapons, and reveals that to us. And it also sets a very dangerous precedent for the economy and for how things move forward. So when you have mafia wars or La Cosa Nostra, and this happens in Italy, Sicily, the United States, when this happens and it goes from being sort of comparatively what might be called soft pressure, you get into an environment where the pressure is much harder. So you get into this environment where in the history of mobs, they would have this gangland mob warfare. And it was like a body or 2 or 5 a week. People get murdered regularly until it shakes itself out again. That's a phase that globally we are entering increasingly, and we are able to see that. I mean, people can tell you that. People have told you that over the course of your life, and they didn't know shit, right? They didn't know anything that was going, except what they were reading or fantasizing about. We're actually able to see these little tidbits, just like you could see somebody get gunned down by a Tommy gun, back in the 20s in the United States, and you knew, whoa, they are at war. You didn't know anything before then, but if there had been a newspaper catering to the whims and the intrigue of the different mafia factions, you would have had many fantasies about different things going on, but seen no evidence. You're actually seeing evidence here. So this is where adults come to discuss these things, rather than people just finding entertainment and then paying their content creator of choice $10,000 a show for it. But let me see what you all are saying, and then we'll get on to this very silly slapping business from the Oscars. But it's great to see you all here. And let me pull up a Cash App over here on the phone, because it's not working on desktop for some reason. So we want to see what's going on there. But I want to make sure nobody. Okay, we have a financial gift from Bubba. Thank you so much, Bubba. Let's get a round of raucous emojis for the great Bubba, who reached the $20 limit at $20 financial gift. And he writes, "Thank you, brother." Well, thank you very much, Bubba. We really appreciate that. And especially with the prices of everything going up. I told everyone at the end of, and we're going to be wrapping up here in about 15 minutes, folks. We'll be rolling out of this rolling going free. I told everybody over there on PWR, we were just there for 2 hours. We had Jared Taylor over there, and I told everybody over there to because Mark is seeing a dip in people giving we refer to as super chats, that I sympathize with everybody, because it's getting harder for me. It's getting harder for everybody, with petrol prices being as high as they are, which means increased prices kind of across the board. But don't panic and end your support. Reduce your support. That's the smart response here. Because you don't want to see Mark disappear. You don't want to see these folks disappear, be unable. Maybe you all, one of the things folks really don't know, that very often we have to pay for the platforms we're on. Not all of them, but like I just paid to get on to start. So it's a recurring billing that I have to meet every month to be on Rumble. And the damn thing has failed to work 3 times in a row so far. It's not streaming there, I don't think, right now. But yeah, just reduce support. Don't abandon it. So a big thank you, Bubba, for your support. And I'll step over here and see. Looks like we're blank there. Didn't miss anybody. Hello to everybody on Odyssey. Great to see you all. King Petra. And Who'da Thunk It. Great to see you. Battle Cat. And No W Guilt over here on D Live. Great to see you folks. And I will see what everybody is saying. Wonderful to see so many champions. Don't forget, I want to say now, before I forget, that this coming Saturday is the White Positive Picnic that Yiz has put together, and it's going to be magnificent. I will probably, can you all hear the Carolina wren singing out right outside the window? I hope you can. I don't know if you can, but I mean, it's the window's open and it's right outside the window. It's a lovely little bird. You should look them up. And the little guy comes and serenades me every day. You put out feeders and bird baths, and we are one with the world, Western kind. And so you definitely improve your health, your spirit, your heart, your outlook when you involve yourself in nature. Go hiking or camping or just taking care of your yard. And then nature comes back and gives you, beautiful music and beautiful scenery. But TJ, just financially gifted. God bless you, brother. Thank you very much. $10 financial gift. Shout out to all white positive people all over the world. Very true. Looking for a new job. Well, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, economy's really across the West not doing very well. And a lot of the not doing well is a consequence of these anti-white oligarchs who are trying to whip up their population with hatred for the anti-white Russian oligarchs so that they can get more out of that lion. They can have some more surety that the lion will attack and be willing to do each next level of incremental damage if it is commanded to do so. So that's a real that's a great metaphor for understanding how you control a population. How not you or me, but the anti-white oligarchs, how they, or any oligarchs, how they control a population and get them to work for them in various ways, work for their interest in various ways. Thank you so much, TJ. I really appreciate it. Saturday might be doing some streaming from there, maybe down and back. Maybe let me know what you all are looking for. And let's see what we have here as far as questions or comments. The great Jerome is with us. Wonderful to see you, brother. And Lucid is here. Hello to you. Rick Deckard is here. Hello. Welcome. John Doe is also here. Great to see you. God King. Cthulhu. Is that what it is? God King. Now, one of Western kind. A big greetings to you. English Patriot. Hello and welcome. The great, well, speak of the angel, and she shows herself. Yiz is with us. Yiz the unifier. Saturday, if you have any questions or comments, I guess she will. I guess you can. Well, you could jump over to the question widget. Give me your email so that I could give that to folks. You can't write it on YouTube. New Ideas is here. We're going to have a magnificent time. It's going to be a few dozen folks, and really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to meeting everybody. I will be there. Hyperborean Dream is there. Hello and welcome, brother. So is the great White Student Transmission. And Jilly is also here. So is Kingdom of Venland. Waylon Wonders is here. Jason looking sharp. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm the best dressed content creator in the white sympathetic sphere. Eric says, what do you mean by a weaponized dollar? Well, I perhaps you asked that. It looks like you asked that a little bit earlier, but before I was talking about it in any depth. When you convince people, imagine if, so you have, say, have children, and you give them a little payment every week for doing their chores. They have to do their chores, then they get this allotment, whatever it might be. And you otherwise have not exercised good parenting and control over them. So you don't actually control. You can't just say, I'm the parent, here's what's going to happen, and the child obeys. So you've done like a pretty modern job of parenting with children. And so you have to manipulate them. Taking away that money is, in this context, weaponizing it, because you're using the money that you're giving them in their, what's commonly called like an allowance. You're taking that money away to force them to do X, Y, or Z, or to submit to you, or whatever it might be. So when you ramp that up to the global scale, countries they're not like children. They don't need your food and your bedroom. They can make decisions to go a different direction. What gives the US dollar its value is the ability to kill you, in my opinion. Check with CNN. but that's what gives it its value. And so that would mean the recourse beyond taking the money away from a country being able to use it, like in this sense, Russia, taking the money away, the recourse beyond that is killing you. And with a country like Russia, like India, like Pakistan, like China, with countries like, they have nuclear weapons. And so killing you becomes much more problematic to do so and remain alive yourself. But anti-white oligarchs, they've demonstrated for our lives, our parents' lives, everything that we can research, that they will go for, there's no morality that gets in the way, no ethics that gets in the way, no law that gets in the way. This is the law of the jungle. This is the physical laws of the universe. And they will do whatever is necessary to remain in power. And if that means, one can speculate that could very well mean a serious killing off of humanity in an effort to remain in control, in an effort to dominate. And this is a speculation. So make sure you check with CNN. I want to get back to the article too quickly to see what's left there, because we ended up getting into, Pants is here, great to see you. We ended up getting into the actual machinery rather than just looking at what they're saying. Feanor is with us again. Great to see you. Welcome, Feanor. Missouri Battle Flag, hello and welcome. And where are we? Okay, we screen jump, but I found it again. Pants says, is that chat meant to be on slow mode? Yes. We had to go to a 3-minute per chat because we instituted this yesterday when we had during TAP, because we wanted people engaged more. You know, we had Sarah and Carissa on. We wanted people to be engaged more in the subject matter than they were, of the stream. So it still allows folks to have private back and forths about things, but it makes it unlikely or less likely that the totality of the chat will end up hijacked talking about 4, 5, 6, 7 different things that have no connection or maybe nearly no connection to what is being discussed on the stream. And on the other side of that same sort of coin makes it a little harder for trolls to really disrupt things. And they've been showing up a lot of places, and you can draw your conclusions about why that might be. That the trolls have been showing up in greater numbers. Jerome says, slow mode is super slow. No mods today. Yeah, you're looking at him. Mark is here. Great to see you. El Rondor says, best take on the whole Will Smith gate I've heard on the net. It is also fascinating that we cannot talk about things like this, even with such gigantic geopolitical shifts. Yeah. Well, this is what I mentioned earlier about these sorts of things. You're going to have natural disasters. You're going to have warfare. You're going to have assassinations. You're going to have sabotage. All of these things are happening all over the world all the time because it's part of the human condition. You want a different outcome, you need a different animal. And all of that news is being with the freedom that we had begun to acquire at the outset of the internet as is being choked right away, because now this information is coming to us increasingly through the social media platforms, these black boxes. Nobody knows who's inside. Nobody got elected. Nobody can be held responsible. And so everything we know is going to be, well, what does it say on Twitter? What does it say on? And those are the things that these folks have determined are the truth and what you can be allowed to see. All right, the chat just left again. I apologize if you asked something and I missed it. Coconut is with us. Great to see you. And let's see. What is the NBD says? Salute. No white guilt, and good afternoon. A big salute to you as well. Art Acrobats is here. Great to see you. Howard Long as well. Victorian time travel. If you asked a question and I missed it, please drop it in the chat again in 3 minutes time, and I'll get to it. Howard Long, Victorian time traveler. Waylon Wonders is here as well. Jerome says, thank you for explaining the slow mode. Now it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, we don't allow people to, very different from other environments where never allow people to incite, I guess, to insult, to instigate, etc. My co-host, Jared George, or my guests. And together, Jared George and I are absolutely firm in the opinion that we're not going to allow people to come on and insult our guests. We totally invite disagreement. Love respectful disagreement. But the slander, the misrepresentation, we don't allow that. And delete it as soon as it pops up. And so this is another form of like disrespect. When you have folks on and they're talking about, the purpose for streaming, and you have this guest on and people are talking about, you have like all of these other conversations, nothing to do whatsoever. Like I said, 3-minute wait, you still are able to have some private conversation, just not run away, private conversation in the live chat. Let's see, what do we have here? The great bass guitarist is financially gifted $5, and God bless you. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. And he writes, with those $5, not much, but this will put a little more gas in your tank for the trip. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for thinking about it. It's a long way. I know folks around the world, they're looking and they're like, well, Virginia's beside Tennessee, isn't it? But I'm in Northern Virginia by Mordor on the Potomac, and Tennessee is all the way southwest Virginia. So we're talking about more than 5 hours of driving easily, and it's going to be a good clip. So he goes on to write here, or at least get you close enough to the exit ramp so you can coast into the gas pump. I've done that. I bet you have too. Looking forward to meeting you on Saturday. Oh, you're going to be there. That's awesome. You see, folks, if you're missing the White Positive Picnic, you're going to be missing meeting some epically heroic people. And it's going to be great. Looking forward to meeting you, brother. And if I stream, I won't be capturing anybody on video other than myself or those who want to step onto the video with me. So just would be me. Nobody has to worry about being doxxed. I, of course, have been in this white sympathetic sphere for 3 decades nearly. I know the importance of anonymity. All right, what's going on with the bitch slap of the Oscar? Somebody got bitch slapped. What's going on there? And I just found out some information from Mark just prior to going live here that I didn't know. And apparently this Will Smith's wife is somebody by the name of Jada. I don't follow these people. I don't know them. I call actors pretenders. It's very rare that I respect acting ability. And it's usually only like in an instance rather than I think this actor is amazing. I call actors pretenders. I think it's ridiculous that our population is such that if you had Neil Armstrong in a hotel lobby meeting with folks at one end of the block, and who played him? Tom Hanks or somebody like this name at the other end of the block would be full of people wanting to meet a pretender rather than shake the hand of the first Westman to put his foot on another world. I mean, that is just the most insane thing that I could. So I call them pretenders. So I don't follow these people. I'm very unimpressed. And also, I'm very little respect for. I guess I should say, or not, maybe that's not the right word. I'm not very impressed by people who create rap music. or just rap. It's not. I don't consider that music. I actually think we need several words because, the classical music certainly cannot be. I love it, and I love rock. I don't think they should both be called music, unless that's going to be your umbrella term, and then we have other words that mean music rather than just genre titles. Anyhow, some of the things that peeve me. So he has this wife by the name of Jada. If you didn't know this, and you probably did, but if you didn't know, if you're like me when it comes to these sorts of things, and she had a podcast. So this is interesting. I've never heard of the wives of actors, musicians. I brought up the rap thing because this Will Smith did rap music or rap as well, I guess. So she had a podcast, and supposedly, I don't know if this is true, ask CNN, but she brought him on her show to reveal live to him that she was having an affair, and he stayed married to her. And now you see these Oscars, and this other actor, comedian, pretender, tells a joke about Jada and her hair. I think because she has alopecia. Is that what it is called? Hair loss. Everybody has it. Not at old enough. Everybody's hair thins. But of course, some for various reasons earlier, and made a joke about that. Said he was looking for G.I. Jane, which is really a dumb movie as well. I didn't watch it, but GI is for the Army, and she was pretending to be a Navy SEAL, but made a joke to her about that. And then this Will Smith character laughs uproariously, and then decides to run up on stage and slap this Chris Rock character. Neither of these things, the podcast and the slap, are real, in my opinion. Check with CNN, because they are real. And the slap was real, because I'm sure CNN is saying it was. So this is what I got to say that has really bothered me since this happened, was the gullibility of our people. Is just, and I'm going to be rolling out here in a minute. So if you have any questions, I'm going to roll quickly, but got things to do. But the gullibility of our people, which is a great strength for us throughout our history when we're by ourselves, because it means that we are really sympathetic to each other. When a stranger showed up at our door and said, "Winter is here. I'm here with my family," we properly get out and plant, and we store meat, and we do everything that needs to be done to be prepared for the long winters. We did all of that. So we're not loafers. We're not free riders. We did all of that. And yet we were robbed. The fire consumed everything. Wild animals got to all of our stores, whatever it is. We're going to die. We needed to perpetuate our kind in the environments in which we dwelt. We needed to be able to believe that story and not just close the door on such people. So we would take the families that had fallen upon hardship in, and we would do it less in our household so that we could preserve that family. And the reason why that, of course, was necessary was that it might be our family next year. So the families that didn't do that, the families where this wasn't present, and it was necessary for other reasons we don't have time here. I could go into, but we don't have time here to talk about. But the gullibility was necessary for other reasons as well. And it remains within us. Our victimizers use the gullibility against us. Now, that doesn't mean that the objective, like if we could ask God himself, was this a real slap or not, that's even relevant. It's not. What's on display here is magnificent white gullibility, like a big white booby bird. and it just waddles over, and you just thump it on the head, and there's another meal until there are no more of the dodo birds left. That's how white people, even in the white sympathetic sphere, how many white people immediately leapt on to say, wow. And then they wanted to do this, especially when they focus so much on other groups of people. They wanted to say, well, look, that's, doesn't matter how wealthy or poor this or that group might be. And whether that's true or not, has nothing to do with this enormous demonstration and disgusting display of gullibility. Your first inclination should be bullshit. That's what your first inclination should be. If we're going to live, you better start training yourself that. Because today, it is a slap after a 5-year precipitous rocket decline in viewership. Maybe it's even longer, of the Oscars. And then suddenly a bunch of actors have a fight on stage? Are you shitting me? You immediately believe that? Or seriously, are you shitting me? People who hear what I'm talking about right now, and they weren't immediately thinking, oh, this is BS, but they don't, after hearing me, say, wow, this probably was BS then. They're like, the stupidity there, the gullibility, stupidity. It's the gullibility. It's a combo. Some stupidity, more gullibility there. It's like, what is this? It's such gullibility. It's like two fish were in a tank, and one fish said to the other, quick, man the guns. And then this person says, when did that happen? Is that on the news? I mean, seriously, that is the level of gullibility and stupidity that I'm witnessing here all across the white sympathetic sphere. Now, I would say from immediately when I heard about this, I thought BS. A bunch of actors at an award ceremony that people are getting sick and tired of watching because it's so anti-white. That they suddenly have a fight on the stage. Come on. At that, I said, no, bravo, Sierra. And this is from the entertainers. This is from entertainers in Hollywood. So then I saw the video, and it even looks fake to somebody who's regrettably been in a lot of fights. And your head does not go back like that from the kind of slap that Will Smith, is that his name? Yeah. Delivered. To jerk someone's head way over the way it did, you would need, and just ask other people who have been in fights. You would need a slap high on the head with the palm of your hand, and there wouldn't be a follow through like Will Smith had after the slap. That's more of a slap of like mid palm up through the fingers, lower on the face. And when you slap someone like that, their head doesn't go anywhere. It's just it'll jerk like that, but their whole head doesn't go back. That to me is indicative of somebody who knows that they were going to be slapped. I'm not saying that they didn't make contact. I may or may not have been trained in different types of fighting styles, and been hit practicing that may or may not have happened intentionally, and very aware of when you know that you're going to be hit, what that's like. And there's an instinctual move away from the blow as it strikes. So it's much more dramatic than it would have actually been. So to me, in my opinion, it looked fake. Maybe it faked in the sense that Chris Rock knew it was coming. But even if it weren't, even if that moment was real, And he really did walk up there and slap him. And Chris Rock didn't know it was coming. And Will Smith wasn't put up to it for the purpose of bringing attention to this absolutely dying, disgusting entertainment industry, anti-white entertainment industry. Even if none of that took place and he did that on the spot, then you still shouldn't believe it. For God's sake, stop being a big white booby dodo bird that just believes anything that comes out of it. It just sickens me. It absolutely sickens me. I used to say, because I was so disgusted with how easily white people fall for the lies of anti-whites, cunning anti-whites. I used to tell my friend, and it's absolutely true, that I could go into a bar and bring a message that would save our people. And no one would give a shit. I could share that honestly, forthrightly with everyone. And then an anti-white victimizer shows up in the bar, could give the same message with the intent to steer folks down a dead-end alley and finish us off, and they could have everybody eaten out of the palm of his hand. That's disgusting. So it speaks to the potential bottleneck. Maybe we need it. This level of gullibility. But that's just about it. I'm going to take a quick look at what this Oynek says. I've seen better acting from wrestlers. Yeah. I mean, look at professional wrestling, and in some cases they will make contact. In other cases, especially with the punches to the face, because you can easily break teeth and all of this, and they're acting. They try to make as little contact to none as possible, but in some cases they do, but they look like they're being really struck. And in this case, I do believe, because I can see that Chris Rock, that there's contact, but I believe that he knew it was coming. But I could be wrong. Promethean reckoning is here. We'll wait till whatever CNN says. Did CNN say? We'll let CNN say, and then we'll make a very solid decision on that. Okay, it looks like we are blank on Cash App, blank over here on Entropy. Didn't miss anybody. That's good. I'll take a quick look at what you all are saying on YouTube, and then I'm going to roll. One of these days, I'll have to have a conversation with everybody about this very silly notion. And let me just ask you this. I can say this for sure. If you have the faith that Western kind didn't walk on the moon, which I think is pretty deplorable and silly, do not share that just prior to talking about white well-being, because everybody else is going to look at what you're saying and think you're crazy. And so you don't want to burn your reputation right before you talk about white well-being. Just don't do it. Resist. Keep it to yourself. Share that with your group of, flat worlder buddies and all of that other business. And don't even give me this. It's that Mitch is here. Great to see you. So is J-Link, one of them. Bell Curve. Wow, so many great champions. Don't even give me this. Well, NASA said that we wouldn't be able to go back to the moon in the same way, that the technology has been lost or whatever. Let me ask you something. Did you do a science fair project maybe back freshman, sophomore year of high school or something? I think everybody did, right? Or junior, senior year, there was kind of complex. Like you had to build something. It was kind of complex. Build it before the day's out. Oh, you can't. You mean you would have to go back and you would have to see exactly how you did that before? Oh, think about that on the level of 10,000 times, 10 million times harder, because you have human minds that are dead. human minds that have forgotten, industries that don't exist, don't even make the parts anymore. I mean, the arguments to the contrary are so silly. Okay, maybe we'll have that discussion. I'll make that a stream because that'll bring in a bunch of new folks that'll want to argue it. And I'll just take on all contenders. Elaine Sabatino is here. I'm going to be bringing, I got to roll out, folks, 5:13 p.m. right outside of Mordor on the Potomac in the once great state of Virginia. I am going to have with me on Saturday some of the lovely treasures that the one and only works of art produced by the wonderful Elaine Sabatino. I will have them with me on Saturday. And I will, if you would like something from one of Elaine's beautiful creations, then come to me and ask me, and we will make sure that you come away with something truly wonderful. I saw something about, I guess it was somebody writing, look, Democrat Poop City is here. I saw somebody wrote something about Hollywood, and I don't know if that was in reference to the slap or in reference to Western kind walking on the moon. But that's another example of a not understanding how a country oligarchs control and also people of good faith who are in charge of a country, how they control and operate. They are going to be years ahead of the population. This is how it used to be done. I mean, increasingly, people have been appointed and elected and hired on the basis of their race, their gender, or not knowing their gender or their sex or whatever it might be. And so things are failing in this regard. But having said that, the way it's supposed to operate is that the government is, and the people operating it, they're thinking way in advance, and they're not going to allow any misfortune to undermine the objective. And so that might mean, in the case of the moon landing, that not only could there be practice filming and what it would be like to film, because why would you really think that they would just get to the moon and say, hey, let's see if this shit works? Yeah, I mean, come on. So, of course, there would be practice. I mean, they practiced everything else, but they wouldn't practice that. They wouldn't practice, well, if we got a dark setting and this is roughly what it looks like, and will the film be able to capture? Will it just wash everything? Of course, they're going to attempt to create something that they think, to the best of their ability, will work there. But also, if the United States government was acting the way it should be acting, then given the very high possibility that lives could be lost and equipment could be destroyed and etc., that they would have a fallback if necessary. So that makes perfect sense to me. So there are layers there to that as well. So is there footage out there of astronaut where they're practicing filming or something like this? What a surprise. Okay, Archangel says we should just refer to actors and rappers as entertainers and the things they produce as entertainment. I've been thinking about this for a while, and you're right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, that's probably a good way to go. Just entertainers. Mr. Napoleon, is that what it said? Mr. Napoleon is here. Jay Link says, going for the worst live chat in history award. I don't get this new move. Well, I discussed it a little earlier, and you can maybe cycle back and or somebody could explain it to you. And other chats have had to do this, have had to slow down the chat to refocus people on the topics being covered rather than on countless other conversations. And then in the end, nobody in the chat is paying any attention to what's being discussed. We have, before we roll out, it's been a magnificent time, and we'll come back and we'll have a discussion about more things, maybe about flat Earth, maybe about hollow Earth, maybe about the moon landing, but whatever it is, seems kind of silly to take away the greatest achievement in the history of the world, and that's Western kind being able to walk on another planet. Seems pretty silly to thieve that from us, and I wonder who might be benefiting from that. Seems pretty silly to thieve that from us when, especially at this day, when we're having everything else white erased. Just white erase that greatest of all accomplishments as well. Alt Rock Lover, $3 financial gift. God bless you and thank you. Hi, Jason. Don't get to tune in much. Just saw that you are online. Thank you for your fearlessness in promoting white well-being. Well, God bless you, brother, and thank you so very much for that as well. And on that note, we're going to have to roll because I got things to do. But you all have been magnificent as always, and we will look forward always with joy in my heart to seeing you all again next time. And it might be on the road, on the way to a glorious white positive picnic that Yiz, the unifier, is throwing. Roll out.